Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to tell you some things that are really different about who I am now showing up on YouTube versus who I was 8 years ago when I started. So there have been a lot of differences and changes over the past 8 years. One of them is that tomorrow I am celebrating my 2-year anniversary of sobriety. So I kind of used to be a pothead. I smoked a lot of weed, and you know, I don't think cannabis is necessarily implicitly good or bad, right? I think it depends on how we use it, right? And how I was using it before was to escape the discomfort. I was like, I don't like how I'm feeling. I feel uncomfortable. Let me smoke weed to make myself feel more comfortable. And so essentially what I was doing is I was consistently and almost daily numbing myself. And you know, it affected me in a lot of different ways. One, I couldn't look people in the eyes. You know, I felt like ashamed. I felt like there was something to hide. Like I wasn't in my full expression. Like when I was stoned, I actually really struggled with these videos because a lot of times I would get stoned and like, oh crap, now I can't make a video. And I think there was actually, one video where I did show up stoned and I actually didn't say anything. It was this video in like the tulips where I was just kind of like, I couldn't express myself. And so I would say that's a big difference between who I was then and who I am now, is I have a much different relationship with expressing myself. I am no longer as afraid, as self-deprecating. In fact, if you go back and watch my very first vlog, I even mention it that, you know, I've always wanted to make videos, but I never really got started because I never felt like I was ready, or there was something, you know, my face wasn't right, or I just didn't feel like I was enough. So I would say that's, you know, this journey that I've been on over the past 8 years since I first appeared here on this channel has very much been a journey of self-discovery. And that showed up in a lot of different ways, you know, traveling to India, traveling to Thailand, traveling to Egypt, traveling to all the places that you guys didn't even really get to see me travel, you know, now living here in Guatemala, and the journey that I've been on here in this place that I've called home. You know, it's been, yeah, a journey on the outside to see these other places and visit these places in the physical world, but more so it's been a journey of visiting these places within myself, meeting my shadow, meeting my fears, meeting my own darkness, right? So when I started out, I felt very alone and I felt very scared. I did not have, I mean, I had a concept of God, but I didn't have really that embodied experience of really surrendering my will to a power greater than myself. You know, I was very scared and I was trying to do it myself. You know, I felt very much I was in survival mode. I felt very scared of the future, very like, I was regretting a lot about the past. You know, I was not at peace. I was trying to fix things. So, you know, I'm still in that process. You know, I'm not like perfect. I'm not cooked. You know, I see how these patterns can still crop up in my life, you know, especially when this stuff has been happening on my Facebook page. And this, you know, part of me is in this, like, trying to like fix it now, you know, coming here on YouTube, doing these things. And I have to remind myself daily that, okay, there is a greater plan and I'm being called to grow, and I don't have to fix it all right now, nor do I have the power to do that. So I'd say I have a lot more perspective. I have a lot clearer mind. I have a lot more willingness to sit with the discomfort. You know, as I mentioned before, previously on this channel, you know, I was living in Boston, but like I wasn't happy there. Like it wasn't the place I was choosing to be because it made my heart come alive. I was there because, you know, life led me there. I kind of followed my sister. I followed, you know, someone else to get there. And so today, you know, I've been now living here in Guatemala for, this month will be 3 years. And I bought land, as you have seen or will see in other videos. I'm building a home. I'm putting down roots. I've got dogs. So that feels really, really amazing. Another big thing from before was that before I was a person, well, I was always an empath. I just didn't know it. An empath is a highly sensitive person, which is also related to why I would smoke so much weed, because I was so sensitive and I was feeling all these things and I was feeling what other people were feeling, and I was feeling, you know, I was feeling so much that smoking weed was one of the ways that I could kind of numb out and not feel so much. So now I have a greater understanding of what it means to be an empath and how to, just hold those abilities and those sensitivities with more grace. And another big key around being an empath is the boundaries. Before, Alexa, stop. Before, I had no boundaries. I would say yes when I really didn't want to, when I meant no, but I was afraid to, again, voice my truth. I would say no and hide from things when I really wanted to say yes and go for it, because again, I was scared. So I would say the biggest difference is that before, I was just really scared and I was really limited by my fears. But I would say that's been the big theme of my journey, is learning how to face my fears. And that can be facing my fears to go traveling by myself in another country, or just facing the fear of speaking up and telling someone, no, that's not okay. Like, no, I can't do that. And a lot of times it's also the not being able to say no is also tied in with a habit of people pleasing. Like, I'm really afraid of people's emotional reactions, also because I'm an empath. And so if someone's angry, like, I feel it. It's just so physically uncomfortable to feel someone's anger. So I will say things and do things to avoid people's anger. But sometimes the problem with that is that I won't speak up for myself and what feels true and right for me, because I'm afraid of how that truth will affect someone else. So I was really taking responsibility for other people's emotions when that's not my job to do. That's called codependency, right? So I was getting into a lot of codependent relationships, also with other people who, you know, smoked weed and drank alcohol. I was avoiding and hiding behind others. You know, I would get into relationships where I would just like really let the other person lead, and because I was afraid, you know. So today, you know, I'm learning how to be more interdependent with people, not codependent. My reality is not based on other people, but I am interacting, I am collaborating, I am working with others. I've got my team who helps me now. So I have Channy, who I've mentioned, who's my VA, who helps me just cross my T's and dot my I's. And that's one of the big things I'm so grateful for this time around, is that in so many ways, I'm not doing this alone, you know. First and foremost, I have such a deeper surrender to God, to this power greater than myself, to this, you know, divine source, this divine energy, this great mystery, you know, that has many names, you know, goes by many different names in many different traditions, but it's all the same universal energy that is watching over us, that is working on our behalf. And so I have a much greater sense of trust in that force. And then, of course, also, like, I'm so grateful, you know, here in Guatemala, in Lake Atitlan, in Hummingbird Valley, I have an amazing community. There are a lot of expats from all over the world who live here. So I have both expat friends and I have local Guatemalan friends. So I really have a sense of like, no, I'm not alone. And yeah, no matter what challenges I'm facing, like, there are people who love me and support me and will hold me as I cry. And I really feel like that is such an important part of the journey, and like really feeling home. It's like, we're not an island, you know, we have to find our tribe. We have to find our people in the world. And sometimes that's the people that we're around when we start on the journey are not the people that, like, part of the journey is like letting go and saying goodbye to people, places, things, drugs, you know, coping mechanisms, like old strategies, old ways of doing things, right? But this is the journey of growth. And that's the journey that I've been on over the past, well, I'm 37, so 37 years, it's been a journey of growth. Another thing that I didn't have before, and again, this also goes with like trying to figure it all out myself, was that I was very much in my mind, and again, the fears. And since then, I was very disconnected from my body. In fact, I was very neglectful of my body. I wasn't eating well. I wasn't cooking for myself very well. I wasn't taking care of myself. And so the past years, especially the past 4 or 5 years, I've really been learning how to cook more. I've been learning about Ayurveda. I've been bringing in herbs and spices and plants into my diet, really learning how to understand who I am, my constitution, and how to bring myself into balance. In other videos, I'll talk more about Ayurveda and what I've learned there. It's an ancient and fascinating way of living that helps us understand who we are and bring ourselves into balance. And that shows up physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in all the ways. In fact, I realized the more I learned about Ayurveda, it's like I was living most of my life in a state of aggravated vata and pitta. If you know what that means, you know what that means. So, and I'll explain that in other videos. So, you know, before I was living in my mind, I wasn't taking care of myself. I was kind of neglecting myself. I was being really hard and judgmental on myself. You know, any hate from any of my platforms was nothing compared to the hate I was giving myself within my own mind. So today I would say the biggest difference and the biggest thing I've learned and that I hope to share and impart on others is just how do we love ourselves? How do we love ourselves for the hard stuff? How do we love ourselves when we're not hitting the mark? How do we love ourselves, you know, when we don't feel good? How do we just love and accept ourselves as we are now and also who we were before, you know? So I have a lot more compassion for myself. And then the other thing is my intuition. I've learned before I was very much in the mind, but now I'm able to really drop in more into my intuition. So, you know, as I go forward with creating content, I really want to let it be guided by that subtle knowing from within of like, okay, what feels right? What is the good way to go? What is that path? And I think that was kind of my downfall in India, was that I wasn't listening to my intuition enough. In fact, my downfall in my whole journey was that I wasn't connected to this like gentle inner knowing. I was trying to do things that seemed, well, maybe it doesn't seem this way, but you know, I wanted things to make sense. I wanted things to be rationalized. I was justifying things that actually didn't feel right, using the mind to be like, well, this should be fine because this, when inside it was like, no. But I would proceed forward anyway. In fact, that's how that whole Jaisalmer camel scandal happened. It was I wasn't listening to my intuition. So, you know, I would say also like one of the biggest things that's different now is I guess I'm more clear that like, yeah, I have value to share. When I started, I really questioned if I had anything to offer. And I know now, you know, from just the journey that I know that I have gifts to share through my communication, that God put in me some kind of ability to help others with my words, with my expression. And so that's ultimately what carries me on doing this work. Because I had to question, you know, as the whole YouTube thing and Facebook page was happening and is still happening at the time of this recording, I had to ask myself, do I even want to continue this? Like, does this even feel right? And what I really just rest in is like, this does feel right. Even though it's hard, even though people will always find some fault in what I do and point it out, even though I struggle, even though I still feel that this is part of my calling to be a storyteller, to learn out loud with the hopes that someone out there is gonna maybe see what I do or learn from my mistakes and live a little bit better in their lives because of it. So ultimately, you know, yeah, I'm worried about losing my job with the whole Facebook thing. Yeah, I'm worried about these things, but ultimately I'm here to serve. And I pray that I can share something that will be of value to others. And maybe that's you. So there you have it. So that's the difference between then and now. Before, when I was a scared, confused pothead, to now when I'm more mature, I'm clear, I'm more grounded, I'm more confident, I'm more compassionate and forgiving with, I'd like to think, with myself and others. I do the best I can. I'm definitely not perfect, but I'm a work in progress. And, you know, I take refuge in knowing that, you know, we don't have to do it perfectly. We just have to just focus on getting a little bit better. And that's enough. Like, you're enough the way you are. I'm enough the way I am. And there's this great quote. It says, you know, God loves me the way that I am, but too much to let me stay that way. So it's like, you know, it's like this paradox of like, I'm loved the way that I am, and I'm also being pushed to grow and change and evolve as a person. And it's all good. It's all lovable. It's all worthy of being held with respect. It's the path, right? This is the path. this is ultimately, I guess, in a lot of ways, what I was complaining about in that existential crisis video, was, you know, the not knowing and kind of like being really hard on myself. And there was like a physical destination, but there was more so like an emotional and spiritual and mental destination that was very unclear. And like, this is the path of coming home. Learning to love both ourselves and others, especially others who, you know, want to find fault and condemn and criticize and crucify, right? And it's like, I'm so inspired by Jesus's example. You know, it's like, he's literally being tortured and killed by people, and he's still like forgiving them and loving them, you know, like that is some mastery level stuff. I'll just say right there. So anyways, so thanks for watching. You know, as I go with this channel, I would love to hear from you. Like, what do you want to hear an update about? Like, what would you like to hear me talk about? Please let me know in the comments below. And I will see you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in. Oh yeah, and if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe and like this video. It helps me build this page, reach more people, and just want to say thank you. I love you, and I'll see you soon.